Hello and welcome back to This Week in Biotech by Biotech Blueprint. Today it's edition 65, covering biotech and pharma news from August 8th to August 14th, 2025. This week, I'm going to cover several stories from pharma and biotech that caught my attention. The first one is Eli's Lilly $1.3 billion AI power move. The company has committed up to $1.5 billion in a new deal with supraluminal medicines, giving them exclusive rights to AI-discovered small molecule therapies focused on obesity and cardiometabolic diseases. The startup's platform marries machine learning with structural biology to tackle challenging GPCR targets. GPCRs are receptors that many drug markets have struggled to engage effectively. This is more than a headline. It signals Lilly's is doubling down on AI as the next frontier in obesity treatment. And, it's not the only company that is doing this, focusing on AI. Understandably so. Especially noteworthy given their recent lukewarm reads of orforglipron data that I reported about last week. I see this as a smart move. Lilly's hedging their bets with tech that might deliver next-generation oral alternatives to GLP-1 injectables. Next is some more FDA drama. So in a very surprising turn, you've probably heard of it, but Vinay Prasad has been reinstated as a director of the FDA's Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, or CBER, just 12 days after resigning amid political and industry controversy. Dr. Prasad's return, reportedly at FDA Commissioner Makari's request, has reignited uncertainty around the regulatory process, particularly for vaccines and gene therapies. Knowing how volatile the response has been in biopharma, this move could either bring stability or stir more internal restructuring. It's a bold reboot, and only time will tell if it helps restore confidence or adds more turbulence. Schrödinger has officially discontinued development of SGR-2921, its early-stage cancer drug targeting CDC7, following tragic deaths of two acute myeloid leukemia patients during phase 1 testing. While preclinical and early human data hinted at potential, SGR-2921 worked by blocking CDC7 to trigger lethal DNA damage in cancer cells, and the emerging safety risks were too significant to ignore. Schrödinger's chief medical officer, Margaret Dugan, emphasized that it is a decision driven by patient safety, not lack of scientific rigor. The news sent the company's stock plummeting nearly 70% in pre-market trading, reflecting the market's sharp reaction to pipeline setbacks. What's left of their early-stage portfolio now centers on MALT1 inhibitor, SGR-1505, and WEE1 MYT1 inhibitor, SGR-3515, shifting corporate momentum to those less risky bets. This is, I think, a sobering moment for the company. Oncology R&D can get pretty brutal. Even the most carefully designed therapies, backed by powerful computational platforms, can face sudden, painful dead ends. Next is Insmed, scored a rare pharmaceutical win. The FDA approved Brinsupri this week, and that this drug is the first ever therapy for non-cystic fibrosis bronchiectasis, or NCFB. The DPP1 inhibitor demonstrated clear reductions in flare-ups and lung function loss in late-stage trials, and is expected to reach nearly $3.7 to $6 billion in peak sales. It's a major milestone for a disease area that previously had no targeted treatments. The next story is about Sarepta. The company sells Arrowhead stake to shore up cash amid Elevidys turmoil. Facing mounting pressure from safety concerns and underwhelming sales of the Duchenne gene therapy Elevidys, Sarepta Therapeutics made a decisive strategic move. It sold its entire $9.2 million share stake in Arrowhead Pharmaceuticals, generating around $174 million in gross proceeds. While this provided much-needed liquidity, it came at a discount, about 31% lower than Sarepta's November purchase price, which caused Arrowhead shares to dive over 6%. Analysts consider this move prudent, acknowledging that it stabilizes Sarepta's balance sheet, but they also caution that it signals deeper financial strain amid uncertain uptake of Elevidys and a debt load exceeding $1 billion due by 2027. Despite the financial urgency, Sarepta reassured investors that its confidence in Arrowhead's RNAi platform remains intact, and the two companies continue collaborating on muscular dystrophy-focused programs with key clinical readouts expected later this year. And lastly, today, Vedanta Biosciences, one of the earliest players in microbiome therapeutics, is cutting 20% of its workforce after its lead program, VE202, failed a phase 2 trial for ulcerative colitis. The therapy, a defined bacterial consortium previously licensed by J&J, didn't beat placebo in reducing inflammation after 8 weeks. That's a tough blow for Vedanta and the microbiome field at large, which has long hoped to move beyond infectious diseases in complex immune conditions like IBD. Vedanta will now focus on VE303, which is its next-gen C. diff therapy that uses cultured strains rather than donor stool, a differentiator from Seer's FDA-approved drug. VE303 is in phase 3 with a primary completion date in 2027. The company is also advancing a preclinical program targeting antibiotic-resistant infections. I think this is a strategic but sobering pivot. The science behind microbiome therapeutics is still incredibly promising, but translating it to autoimmune diseases continues to be an uphill battle. Still, Vedanta's decision to share further data at conferences is the right move, as it may help the field find new paths forward. That's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll be back next week with more updates.